Okay. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
I'm sure everybody is in the middle of preparing themselves and their house for Pesach. What we will try to do is, to be ready for Pesach, you need to be ready physically and spiritually or intellectually. And I want, in the short time that we have now, to just ask a big question that everybody should ask. If you look at Sefer Shemot, in the beginning of Sefer Shemot, you could have a wrong feeling that the exile of Egypt started when Pharaoh was appointed. Remember the first few psukim in Sefer Shemot? After Ve'ele Shemot Bnei Israel Abayim Mitzrayma, so they came to Eretz Mitzrayim, and then it's mentioned, Vayamot Yosef v'chol echa v'chol ador ahu, all this generation passed away, and then Vayakom melech hadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef. A new king was appointed. Either he never knew or met Yosef, or he make believe that he do not know. He deny what Egypt owe for Yosef, that he was, the best finance minister ever. The first Jewish finance minister in the world was Yosef, and he saved the economy of Egypt. And for sure, they owe him a lot. But he became a king, and he said, okay, now we have a problem. We have a problem with the Jews. And this is the first anti-Semites that plans, this crazy idea. Those guys, they are become so many, and if will be a war, they will join the enemy. Gonna have a problem. So therefore, let's take all their rights and make them slaves and torture them. This is the description in Sefer Shemot. So many people think that it started over there. One of the things that I want to just show tonight is the Torah is not just giving us. I mentioned that, if you remember, for those of you, last time I was here about a month and a half ago, Torah, the meaning of the word Torah are instructions. So in the Torah you could find the mitzvot, right? The mitzvot, what to do or not to do. But in the Torah there are stories also, history. Those stories and this history is not just history, it's Torah. And one of the things that we should learn from the point that I just started to deal with is what is the right thing to look at things? The right way. The exile of Mitzrayim didn't start here in Sefer Shemot. I'm sorry, I don't have it in English. Everything will be in Hebrew. I try to translate, okay? Those of you who read Hebrew, you could see it in the way it's written in the Torah. This is the description of what happened after Yosef passed away. Vayamot Yosef v'chol echa v'chol ador ahu, and then Vayakom melech hadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef. New king was appointed, and he decided that the Jews are a threat for Egypt, and they put on them very high taxes in order to torture them, and they built those buildings for Pharaoh, and here it started. Vaya'avidu bnei Israel, Mitzrayim et bnei Israel beferech. They make them slaves. But if you really know the Torah, you should remember that actually before Pharaoh was born, many, many years before Pharaoh was born, in Sefer Bereshit, Hashem speaks to Avraham Avinu, and he's talking about Genesis, not Exodus. In chapter 12, Hashem says to Avraham Avinu, "Vayomer Hashem el Avraham, lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladetcha u'mibet avicha el haaretz asher areka." We mentioned that last time, if you remember, when we spoke about the Arab-Israeli conflict. Avraham Avinu, the first forefather of the Jewish people, was not born in Eretz Canaan or in Israel. He was born in a place called Ur Kasdim in Iraq. And then Hashem told him, go, leave everything, go to the land that I will show you. Right? And then he sent him to the land of Canaan. And he says to him, Ve'escha legoy gadol, I will make out of you a great nation. It was a real big promise because Abraham was childless at the time. And it seems that he will never have children, right? So Hashem promised him, I'm going to make out of you a great nation. Later on, in Genesis, in chapter 15, in the event called Brit Ben HaBetarim, Hashem made a covenant with him, and he told him the following. Vayomer leAvraham, Hashem speaking, God speaks to Avraham, and he says, Vayomer leAvraham, Yadoa teidah ki ger yeh zaracha be'eretz lo lahem, va'avadum ve'inu otam 400 shana. So Hashem promised Avraham at the beginning, even before Yitzchak was born, that the great nation that he's going to make out of him will be created as a nation in a foreign land, not in their land, not in the land that I promise you, in a foreign land. This is number one, be'eretz lo lahem, not in their place. And then the second thing, they will be slaves, va'avadum, they will be slaves. And then the third thing, ve'inu otam 400 shana. They will be not just regular slaves, they will be tortured slaves for 400 years. And that happened before Paro was born. So when Paro was born later on, he thought it's his ideas, but actually it was predestined. And the big question is, why? Exactly. Hashem wants to give Abraham a gift, children, a nation. Look at the double emphasis over here of you should know. Vayomer Avraham yadoa teidah. It's doubled. You should know, but yadoa teidah meaning it has to be this way. It could not be in different way. Only this way. And the question again is, why? Why? If you look at the end, there is something also that could make people not understand it in the right way. He continues and he says, okay, they will be tortured slaves for 400 years. וגם את הגוי אשר יעבודו דן אנוכי. So he said, don't worry, those people who will be so wicked to do this for them, they're going to pay the price. I'm going to judge them and I'm going to punish them. And for sure, it's related to the 10 plagues in Egypt, right? And Kriyat Yam Suf, when he made all the Egyptians drown in the sea, right? And then he said another thing, ואחריכם יצאו ברכוש גדול. And after all of that, they will come out from Egypt with a great fortune. And we have also asked a few questions about here. How it's make it better when he promised, Hashem promised that he's going to punish them. Don't send them there and don't punish them. And the end of it, the great fortune that they're going to go out, it seems like, you know what, it's worth it because after that they will become millionaires. So if Hashem wants to give them fortune, he has different other ways. Why it should be this way? So these things, probably many people, when they make themselves ready for Pesach, we always celebrating the fact that we went out of Egypt. The question that we have to ask, how we got there in the first place and why? And this is the thing that we'll try to learn it. And one thing that we could already get from this, that things in the world not just happened. There is a reason for everything, especially when it's connected to the faith of the Jewish people. It doesn't work this way that, one day any anti-Semite leader and decided to kill Jews or to torture Jews. We see over here, if you ask the analysis at the time, they will tell you, yeah, let's look at Paro, what complex he has, why he's so anti-Semite, and they will analyze it in the point, because and they do not see the bigger picture. We see now that it started in Sefer Bereshit. Okay? Okay, let's try to go to the answer of this. Before that, let me just add another thing that will help us to understand something in the Haggadah Shel Pesach. Right? At the mitzvahs of Leil HaSeder are Korban Pesach, which we could not do today because there is no Beis HaMikdash, so there is no Korban Pesach. But we have a mitzvah d'oraisa to eat matzah, right? To eat matzah and to say the Haggadah. V'yigadet lebincha, it's from the Torah, right? But there is another thing that Chazal, it's midrabanon. Chazal, our sages, made this takana after the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash, and this is to drink 4 cups of wine. It's not from the Torah. It didn't mention Bichlal in the Psukim, but everybody knows that the entire Seder is around those 4 cups. The first cup is the Kiddush, which is not unique because every Shabbos and every holiday every Chag, we have Kiddush to do in the beginning of the Suda. The second cup is the cup that you pour right after you finish the first one. You're not going to eat, you're going to read or recite the Haggadah, right, on the second cup. The third cup is a cup of Birkat HaMazon after the meal. And the fourth cup is the end of the Haggadah, the end Hallel, right? Now, Chazal says that the reason for this, and this is a whole story by itself, I'll just summarize it. Why four cups? Those 4 cups parallel to the 4 ways that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu how he going to make the Geula, how he going to take the Jews out of Egypt. Let's see if we have it over here. I think yes, no, we don't. Maybe, yeah, here. In Sefer Shemot, Parashat Vayera, in the beginning of Parashat Vayera, Hashem says, speak to Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of Parashat Shemot, if you remember, Moshe Rabbeinu told Hashem, you sent me to Egypt, I came to Egypt, instead of saving them, Paro became even more nasty to them. And he asked them to make the bricks, and you're not going to give them the material, they have to collect everything, meaning it became even worse, right? That was the end of Parashat Shemot. In the Parashat Vayera, Hashem told him, explain to him what's going on. So, this is that. And then he told them the following. I made a covenant with the Avos, with Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And now, Lachem, therefore, Emor lebnei Israel ani Hashem, go to them and tell them, I'm Hashem, and now I'm going to redeem you. And how it will be the redemption? First, v'hotzeti etchem mitachat tzivlot Mitzrayim. I'll take you out of the suffering, right? V'hitzalti etchem me'avodatam. I'll save you from working for them. V'ga'alti etchem b'zron tuyav v'shvatim gdolim. This is the 10 plagues. I will take you out of Mitzrayim by punish them. Then v'lakachti etchem li le'am, which is Ma'amad Har Sinai, the revelation at Sinai when Hashem took us to be His nations. So the Maharan Miprag says the following. If you look about what Hashem told Avram, He told him that it's going to be 3 levels of not good state or good situation for the Jews. Each one of them is worse than the other. The first thing, they will be foreigners not in their country. You know, when somebody has to go against Israel without nobody told them before. Listen, go to the airport. You're going now to Japan. Okay? Now, within a few minutes, few hours, go to Japan. He never was. Nobody. He was not in Japan in his life. He do not know the language, so he finds himself after a few hours in Japan. This is not very comfortable for people to be in an environment that speaks language that you do not understand, look not like you look not like them, and you feel foreigner, right? So this is the first level of uncomfortable. But it's not comfortable, but you can manage. If those people are open-minded and will accept the foreigner, you could manage. But here he told them that it will not be like this. They will be in a foreign country, but they will not be accepted over there. They will take their rights from them. They will make them slaves. So this is even worse. But says the Maharal, even slave, okay, you could live, or you could bear it for certain amount of time. But the third thing is completely crazy. Va'avadum ve'inu otam, they will be torture slaves. So this is 3 levels of one worse than the other. When comes the time for the redemption, says the Maharal, look at the order over here, right? Now they are not just foreigners, there are slaves and there are tortured. When comes the time for the Geula, for the redemption, he says the following. First, Ve'otzeti etchem mitachat tzivlot Mitzrayim. First of all, you're still in Mitzrayim, but the first level of redemption will be you will not be tortured anymore. This is the meaning of tzivlot Mitzrayim. You will not be suffering. but you're still slaves. Second level, והצלתי אתכם מעבודתם. You'll not be slaves anymore, you'll not work anymore, but you're still in Egypt. You're still not in your place. The third one is, I'll take you out, וגאלתי אתכם בזרוע נטויה ובשפטים גדולים, meaning the 10 plagues of Egypt that will force the Egyptians to send you out of Mitzrayim, and then you will not be in a foreign country. And then there is another one, ולקחתי אתכם לי לעם. Those three speaking about what happened in Pesach. The fourth one speaking about Shavuos. 50 days later, I will make you my nation. And this is the parallel for the 4 cups of wine. The first cup of wine is Vehotzeti. The second is Vehitzalti, I'll save you. The third is Geulas Mitzrayim. And the fourth is Velakachti. And here is the hint to understand why God sent us to Egypt in the first place. We have to know, this is a very important thing. We are not normal. You know that? You know that the Jews are not normal?
Yeah.
They are not normal in any way that you look at them. Every nation in the world usually become a nation when they are in a certain place. You know, they decide, you know, the tribe or the family become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they become a nation, and then they decide, okay, let's make a land for us. That's the way. That's not our case. In our case, we went to Egypt at the end of Sefer Bereshit, if you remember, with the jealousy of the tribes over Yosef, and they sent him, and then, okay? When we went to Egypt as a big family of Yaakov Avinu. ב-70 נפש ירדו אבותיך מצרימה. 70 people. In Egypt, we become a nation. Under the conditions of tortured slaves in Egypt. There in Egypt were our pregnancy as a nation. The delivery occurred in Yetzias Mitzrayim, and from Egypt, a nation came out. To Egypt, 70 people went down, and from Egypt, we were created as slaves, as a tortured slaves. And Hashem took us, punished the Egyptians, and took us to be His nation. And here's the answer to the beginning of the answer of the question, why Hashem did this way? Why? He told Abraham Avinu that it has to be this way. In order to understand it, we have to bring a few things from the Kabbalah, and I hope you could take it, right? You use here to Kabbalah ideas sometimes. Okay, yeah, all right. It's all connected to Chet Adam Arishon, and here I have to bring, you know, to summarize through a few big ideas that discussed in the Kabbalah. It's all connected to this. Without it, you cannot understand this, so we have to do it. So let's go back to the beginning of the history. Before there are any Jews in the world, before Avraham Avinu was born, let's go to the first person in the world, Adam and Chava. When Hashem created Adam, Hashem says before He created Adam, "Naaseh Adam betzalmeinu kidmutenu." It was at the 6th day of the creation, after everything else was created already. Then Hashem says, after I created everything, now I want to create not another creature. I want to create somebody who will run the entire creation. The words in the pasuk are the following: "Vayomer Elokim na'aseh Adam betzalmeinu kidmutenu v'yirdu bidgat hayam uv'of hashamayim v'chulei." The meaning of this: I'm going to create now Adam, and he will be in my image, betzalmeinu kidmutenu. Why? Because I'm gonna give the entire creation to him to manage, to run. This is the meaning of v'yirdu bidgat hayam. He will be the manager. Meaning Hashem now wants to create, in a way, a partner to Him. He created the universe. Now we want a partner to run it. And then Adam Rishon was created, and he was created from a body and a soul. וייצר השם אלוקים את האדם עפר מן האדמה, dust from earth, ויפח באפיו נשמת חיים, and he is the only creature that it has in it the combination of these two dimensions, spiritual and physical. After Hashem created him, because he will be in the image of God, and the meaning of, the practical meaning of image of God, that he will get a gift that no other creature in the universe got, and this is the free will. Like God. Like God, as God is a free willer, no force in the world told him to do this or to do this. He is almighty. He gave the human being that he created this gift of being a free willer, which is unique, very exclusive. There is no other creature in the world, in the universe, that has free will. Everybody heard or knows about the laws of nature. The laws of nature is the very strict dictator of every element in the universe. Everybody is obligated to the laws of nature. They have no free will. The only exception is a human being. And that's a whole story by itself. Where is the free will? Because in our body, we are obligated to the laws of nature, right? Not like everybody else. In our spiritual dimension, we also have to know, we also obligated to the spiritual laws of nature. The free will is just because those two are connected to each other, and the free will is between the interest of the physical to the interest of the spiritual. Over there is the place of the free will. Now, after Hashem created this creature and gave him a free will, actually, in a way, he took a big risk. God. Why? Because if he really gave him a free will, meaning that he gave somebody else, aside from him, an authority to decide whatever he wants to decide, even if it will be against the will of God. It seems so, right? He took a big risk, because Adam could tell him, okay, God, you created me, you really give me a free will? I could do whatever I want? Okay. I'm not interested in your instructions. I'll do whatever I want. And he did. And he did. The first action, the first way to actualize the free will by Adam and Chava was to do something against the instruction of God, against the commandment of God. And because Hashem really wants to give him a free will, he did things that with his action, he took the entire world, because Hashem put him or created him to be in charge of the universe, meaning that his free will or any way that you're going to choose will not affect just him, it will affect everything. And that's what happened. And this is the big thing that called in Kabbalah Chet Adam HaRishon. Chet Adam HaRishon, the sin of the first man, took the entire creation to a wrong path. Many implications and ramifications was out of it. One of them, you know that Hashem told him, don't eat from this tree, but if you will eat, let me tell you what will be the consequences. And he told him a few consequences. One of them, that you're going to die. You're going to die if you do this. And he did it anyways. Now, the Kabbalah relate to, I don't know how to do it short. You know, at the end of Maaseh Bereshit, at the end of the 6th day after Chet Adam HaRishon, it says, the pasuk says the following: "Vayar Elokim et kol asher asa, v'hinei tov meod." And God looked about everything that He created, and it was very good. Tov meod. Says the Medrash, something very, very weird. V'hinei tov meod, zeh hamavet. What's so good? He looked, God looked about everything that He created, and He saw that there is something called death, and that will make everything very good. What's so good? What's so good about it? So again, in brief, When Hashem created Adam Rishon, and Hashem created man, He didn't created him in order to kill him, in order to make him die. Actually, He told him, don't eat from this tree, because if you will eat from this tree, you're going to die. Meaning that if you will not eat from this tree, you will never die. And that was the purpose. That Hashem created Adam in order for him to live forever. He brought on Himself, from different reasons, that not the time now to go why Adam Rishon sinned, why he knew the price. And he thought that the price worth the thing that he did. And that's the whole thing by itself. Anyways, but he did it, and he brought on himself the death. And Hashem says, after he sinned and he deserved death, the death is good, is very good. What is the meaning of this? So the Kabbalah explained that the impact of the sin was creating imbalance between the body and the soul. To say it, in a very, very simple way, which is not what it is, it's much deeper. When Hashem created the human being, as I said before, it was a body and a soul. Dust from earth, which was the material to build the body, and nishmat chayim, a soul of living, right? Before Adam Rishon get to the picture, he was created in a way that, let's say, it's not accurate, but I'll say it anyways, like 50% body, 50% soul. And they were nice neighbors to each other. When he sins, the impact was that the spiritual dimension of him become captured by the physical. In the language of the Kabbalah it says, ניצוצות הקדושה שנפלו לתוך קליפות הטומאה. The sparks of holiness, or holy, that fell down to the peel of the tuma, of the impurity. The meaning of this, there is no balance now anymore between the body and the soul. The body took over, and the soul is a captured entity inside the body, inside the material. Let's just a little bit explain this. When Adam Rishon was created and Hashem commanded him, don't eat from the tree of the distinguish between good and evil, right? Before he went to action, how he understood the commandment? He understood it this way. His mind, which is pure way of thinking, which is the function of the spiritual dimension of him, told him, listen to what God told you. But the body told him, don't listen. How? If you remember, when Chava went ahead and got convinced by the Nachash to eat from the tree, how it's written in the pasuk, it says, ותרא האישה כי טוב העץ למאכל וכי תאווהו לעיניים. She saw that it's good. She looked at the fruits and she said, wow, the fruit look so good. It's yummy. טוב העץ למאכל וכי תאווהו לעיניים. תאווה is desire. The eye desire this tree. And here is the conflict. The conflict that Adam Rishon was between the mind, that was the function of the neshama, of the soul, that told him, listen to Hashem. But against it was the desire, which is the impulse of the body, to tell them, but it looks so good, it looks so yummy. And in the conflict between the da'at, which is the mind, to the dachaf, which is the impulse, instead of make the da'at, the mind, taking over the dachaf, the impulse, he did just the opposite. He let the desire, he let the physical to take over the spiritual. And that caused the imbalance between the body and the soul. After the soul became captured by the body, the only way to let it come back to the former state is to kill the body or to separate it from the body. That's the only way to give the soul their level that they lost. And this is the big loss of Chet Adam Rishon. This is the thing that was the kilkul. This is the thing that went wrong. And remember, it's not just his problem as an individual. Because Hashem put him in charge of the entire universe, the impact was in the entire universe. Now, if we'll just use the example of the snowball, a little ball on the top of the mountain, if it goes down, in every step, it takes more snow and become very big down, right? That's actually what happened with the history of the human race. From Adam, let's see, the next generation, because again, what was the motto? The motto was that the physical is taking over, the desire. It caused the next generation, it was the murder of Cain and Hevel because of jealousy. And he killed them, right? The next generation, in Enosh, they started to idol worship. Idol worship, at the end, it's come from the same motto. 10 generations after Adam Rishon was the Mabul. Ishchit kol basar, everything was corrupted, and then everything should be destroyed. 10 generations after that, they built the Tower of Babylon. And they continued the same thing. What was the idea of the Tower of Babylon? That's also a whole story by itself. But what the other Torah describe it? We want to build the tower, v'na'aseh lanu shem. We want to make we have our own plans. We do not care about the plans of the Creator. Same path. At this generation, Avraham Avinu was there. And everybody cooperated with Nimrod, which is the king who built this tower. Everybody was with him. He has only one person that was in the opposition. It was Avraham. Avraham omed me'ever echad, Avraham ha'ivri, called Avraham ha'ivri. He is standing from one side and the entire world was in the other side. So, since the creation, 20 generations after, came somebody, Avraham Avinu, who wants to turn everything back to the right place. His philosophical, intellectual fight with Nimrod and all the people at this time, that you are wrong. You are wrong. There is one meaningful power that runs everything, and this is God. They believed in many other forces that run the show. So he wants, since the time of Adam Rishon, nobody was like this. You have to understand that it was tzaddikim before that. It was righteous people. About Noach, the Torah says that he was a tzaddik. Ish tzaddik tamim haya b'dorotav. He was a tzaddik, right? And Shem and Ever and Metushelach and Chanoch, they were tzaddikim. But all of them were tzaddikim for themselves. I mean, they research what's right, and they do, and they run their life in the right way. Avraham Avinu was different in a way that he didn't keep it for himself. He went all over the world, and he shouted out, Hashem hu Elokim. Vayikra b'shem Hashem el olam. Hashem is the master of the universe. So he took on himself, not to fix himself, to fix the entire world. Therefore, Hashem told him, as we saw before, Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladetcha u'mibet avicha. Go from this place, because the mission that you took on yourself could not be successful in this place. You have to go to a certain place in the world, the Aretz Asher Areka. There is only one place that this mission will be successful. And another thing he had to him, it's not a mission for one person. It's a mission for a nation. And I'm going to do this nation out of you. Okay? So now, because we have more background, we could continue to chapter 15. Now he says the following. When he already went to Eretz Canaan, he was in Eretz Canaan at the time, right? In chapter 15. Then Hashem told him, you have to know that this thing, meaning creating a nation, a whole nation, that will fix the sin of Adam Rishon, should be or could be, it will be possible only if they will go through this. they must be, remember I sent you to this place, but the nation that I want to make out of you could not be born in this place and could not be created in this place. I have to send them to a different land, Eretz Lo Lahem. And over there they must go to slavery, and not just a simple slavery, not ordinary slavery, very unusual slavery. They should be tortured. And here's the answer. And all of the things that I'm telling you now is actually discussed in the Kabbalah, and the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, relate to this or summarize it in Sefer Derech Hashem, the way of God, if you know Derech Hashem Ramchal, and he explained this relating to Kriyat Shema that we have to say every day, right? We have a mitzvah deoraita to say Kriyat Shema, to recite Kriyat Shema twice a day. B'shokbecha u'v'kumecha. Now, Kriyat Shema include 3 portions: Shema, Vayayim Shamoa, and Parashat Tzitzit. Right? Everybody familiar with this? Yes, I guess. Okay? So, the Torah told us, Hashem says in the Torah, that you have to recite Shema twice a day. B'shokbecha u'v'kumecha. B'shokbecha meaning in the nighttime and in the daytime. Now in Haggadah Shel Pesach, we're gonna, in the beginning of the Haggadah, before everybody falls asleep, right in the beginning, do you know this this part? The story about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, right? We recited right after the Kiddush, right? We said that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was the president of the Sanhedrin, and he was very, very young. So he said the following: "Harei ani keven 70 shana." I look like I'm 70 years old, but actually he was 18 years old at the time. But he look like older. He was very, very smart and wise. And he mentioned the following problem: "Velo zachiti shete'amer yetziat Mitzrayim balelot." I always wanted to understand why we have to recite the 3rd parsha of Shema in the nighttime. What's the problem? The 3rd parsha of Shema speaks about tzitzis. And tzitzis is a mitzvah that from the Torah, you're obligated to do it only in the daytime. Why? Because it's written over there, "Uritem oto uschartem." You should see the difference between the white and the light blue string in the tzitzis. But uritem oto is only with a natural light, not with artificial light. Not electronic, and even not even a candle. A natural light. Therefore, this mitzvah from the Torah is only in the daytime. Therefore, ladies are not obligated to this because it's a mitzvah that's connected to time, and you know that ladies are above time, so they are not obligated to. Right? It's good. It's good. We're complimenting her over here. Okay. Anyways, so it's a mitzvah that even men should obligated to her only in daytime. So asked Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, so I always wondered why we have to recite the 3rd parsha in the nighttime. It would be enough with the Shema and Vayayim Shamoa. And he said, and then I learned it from Rabbi Shimon ben Zoma, who learned this or taught that that's what the Torah asks us or commands us in Sefer Devarim, not in the parsha of Shema. There is a pasuk in Devarim Tetzayin, Devarim Deuteronomy 16, "Leman tizkor et yom tzedcha me'eretz Mitzrayim kol yemei chayecha." This is a very interesting mitzvah. Everybody could do it with just a little bit intention. We recite in Shema anyways, right? B'shokbecha u'v'kumecha. You have to know that the last verse, the last pasuk of Parashat Tzitzit, famous one, right? Let me say it. "Ani Hashem Elokechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elokim, Ani Hashem Elokechem." In this pasuk, we are saying every day in fulfilling the mitzvah of remembering Leman tizkor et yom tzedcha me'eretz Mitzrayim. Every Jew has to remember the day that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, every day, all year long. Not just in Pesach. Twice a day. And that's what we're doing when we say the last pasuk of Shema. "Ani Hashem Elokechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elokim." And remember the question, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, why we have to recite Parashat Tzitzit? Tzitzit is not, you're not obligated in the nighttime. So he said, right, You do not obligate in the tzitzis, but because of the last pasuk, the last verse that mentioned Yitzias Mitzrayim, and because we are obligated to remember Yitzias Mitzrayim daytime and nighttime, therefore we say Parashat Tzitzit even in nighttime. This is the meaning of what the Haggadah says. This is a quote from the Mishnah. Now, the question is, why we have to remember twice a day, every day, that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim? Because this is the essence of being a Jew. Meaning, the first commandment in the 10 Commandments, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit avadim. Hashem says, I took you out of Mitzrayim. Remember, when you were slaves in Egypt, you didn't just went out of Mitzrayim because you want to. You rebel against the wicked Egyptians. There was no hope to this. It was impossible. And we say it in the Haggadah. If Hashem will not take us out of Mitzrayim, we will never be out of Mitzrayim even today. We and our children of children will be slaves in Egypt forever. Me'olam lo barach eved miMitzrayim. It was impossible for a slave to escape Egypt. It was so sealed place. And by the way, this is the meaning of the word Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim. In Hebrew, not Egypt. Mitzrayim. The main letters are the letters Tzadik and Reish. Tzadik and Reish. If you know some Hebrew, this is the root, or there's the main letter in the word Meitzar. Meitzar is a fence. Or Tzara. Tzures. You know what Tzures? This is Mitzrayim. When you're in a very narrow place that you could not move, this is Tsar. This is Mitzrayim. And because there is a Yud Mem at the end, it means it's plural, meaning that there was a fence all over, all around, and nobody will ever be able to escape from this. Only Hashem could take us out of Mitzrayim by breaking those fences by the 10 plagues, which is Eser Makot Mitzrayim. Okay? So Hashem says, I took you out of Mitzrayim. Ani velo malach, ani velo saraf, no messenger, me myself, because only Hashem could break this big fence, this big klipa, peel that was in Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim was not just a place. Mitzrayim was a philosophy. And the philosophy of Mitzrayim was workers. Workers. The title of Mitzrayim, again, the first commandment, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit avadim. So the title, the definition of Mitzrayim is a house of slavery. That was the ideology there, the philosophy. The more you work, the more you justify your existence. You know, today the world just come back to this idea. Even in America, which is the free country, right? We have even a statue of liberty, right? But every good business or big business over here, proud to put a big signs, we're working 24/7, 365, right? The more you work, this is the ideology of Egypt. The main thing is to make money. You worth how much money you work. This is the ideal of being a human being. You know, the more you make money, meaning the more you is slave to the material. Hashem says, I took you out of it. I took you out of it. But even now, let's connect it again to Chet Adam HaRishon, to the sin of Adam HaRishon. As I said, it was many ramifications, many consequences to the Chet Adam HaRishon. One of them is the death, but it was something even worse than this. What could be worse than death? Hashem told Adam HaRishon, Arura ha'adama ba'avurecha. The land, the ground will be cursed because of you. Be'itzavon tochlena. You will suffer in order to have some food. Now he says the following, Beze'at apecha tochal lechem. You will work very, very hard to have bread, to have food, to exist. But the tragic thing is the continuation. Beze'at apecha tochal lechem, ad shuvcha el ha'adama, כי ממנה לוקחת כי עפרת ואין עפרת שוב. And what worse than this? Hashem told him the following: you did this, you took the physical and make it the main thing, when according to the right thing it should be only the mean to the goal, and the goal should be the spiritual. But you did it, you chose it. Now look what happened. Because you took the material and make it the main thing, you're gonna be the slave of it. You will work hard for it. But because you did it, you're gonna die. Until you will die, you will work very, very hard. So tragic. But that's what happened. And since then, people are slaves. The only exception are the Jews. You know that Jews have very funny, interesting character in their. I don't think it's a good. It's a very sensational news to tell you that Jews do not like to work. Right? They do not. They could run other workers. They could be managers, but they hate working. Why? Because as a nation, in the beginning, the foundation of our nation, we were working so hard in Egypt, and that was enough for the rest of the generations of the Jews to the end of the history. We worked very hard. Now, seriously, let's go to the deep thing over here. Because of the sin, all the human race becomes slaves to the material, right? And that caused the effect of the snowball. That material, and that's called jealousy and murder and everything, because everybody wants to have more on the account of the others. And this is the problem. Avraham Avinu realized that it's all wrong. And he said, you are wrong. It could not be the main thing. Hashem told him, okay, you realize the truth. In order to fix the world, I will make a nation out of you. In order to this nation to be ready for this mission, they have to go through the following. They have to be not in their place. I'll add the following. You know, again, for those of you who understand Hebrew, this is so beautiful. But for those who do not, I will translate it. It will be also beautiful. Look, how do you say sin in Hebrew? Chet. What is chet? Chet in Hebrew is the root of the word hachta'ah. Hachta'ah is when you have a target, all these round things, right? There's only one point that if you put the arrow in, this is the target. Only one place. There are endless options of missing the target. To miss the target is chet. Chet ze lachti. To miss. How do you say to miss in Hebrew? Chet, lachti. So the definition of chet is to put things not in the right place. This is sin. So the right place was to take the physical and make it a mean to the spiritual. The chet was to just turn it over. Now, how do you want to fix? How you could fix it if you realize that it's wrong and you want to fix it, like Avraham Avinu did. And here's the secret. Hashem told him, the nation that I'm going to take out of you will create it. And in the Nevuah, in the Navi, it says it's parallel the time that we were in Egypt, like a pregnancy time. The pregnancy is from the conception to the delivery. So we were be'eretz lo lahem. We were in the wrong, not in our place. Because we are now starting the mission to fix the sin of Adam Rishon. So Adam Rishon took the things not to their place. Therefore, if you want to fix it, you have to be not in your place. Be'eretz lo lahem. Then, what's the purpose of the slavery and the torture and the slavery? There is something in Chazal called, there is a pasuk in Devarim, in Deuteronomy, ואתכם לקח השם ויוצא אתכם מכור הברזל ממצרים. מצרים, parallel here to kur habarzel. How do you say kur habarzel in English? How do you say kur hituch?
Like a solid.
Kur hituch. איך אומרים kur hituch?
Melting pot. Furnace.
No.
Furnace.
Furnace? Okay, let me just, in my words, describe it in a different way. If you want to dig in the ground and take out a gold or a silver, it always comes out with a lot of dirt. It's not pure gold. It's not pure silver, right? So what do you do in order to make it pure? You take it and put it in an oven or very hot place that only the pure material go through it, and the rest will be either burned or pushed aside. This is the process, right? So Mitzrayim called here in this pasuk Kur HaBarzel, meaning I'm going to send you there in order to purify you. To purify you. The way to purify you is to take all the extra material and just burn it. How? By being slaves and tortured slaves. And this is the secret of something called in Chazal, Yisurim memarkim avonot. Meaning, when you suffer, the suffering has good side of it. Of course, if anybody suffers from anything, chas v'shalom, illness, other problems, your responsibility or your, as a person, is to get rid of it. You feel that something wrong in your health, go to the doctor. You feel that something not comfortable, go make yourself comfortable. But even if you did all what could you do, and the suffering is still there, you have to know that there is a benefit for suffering. Why? It's cleaning you up. It's cleaning your account up. This is Yisurim Memarkim Avonot. Now the last thing is to explain why. Why Yisurim? Why suffering clean you up? Here's a deep thing. I think with this we must finish. But it will make everything in conclusion. Free will. Remember we spoke about free will? Free will, from a philosophical point of view, is something impossible. Why? Real free will is choosing between two sides. But those two sides should be just the opposite. A significant, a meaningful free will is between two opposites, meaning between positive and negative. Now, if you take an intelligent creature, human being, has ability to think, to realize the reality, right? Give him those two options. One is positive and one is negative. And tell him, okay, choose. There is any way to debate between positive and negative? If I realize that the positive is positive and the negative is negative, do I have any doubts what to choose? I'm forced to choose the positive because it doesn't make sense I realize that the negative is negative. So how the free will works, and here's the secret, in order for the negative to be equivalent option to the positive, Hashem have to give that negative a gift or a power. What is the power that always goes with the negative to make it seems at least equal to the positive? It's called temptation. Usually, and you have to understand this, usually when a person stands between two options, positive and negative, right and wrong, he knows usually that the wrong is wrong. He knows it in his mind. Why he has even thinking to choose it? Because it's tempting. It's yummy. He told you, the negative told you, listen, it's wrong to choose me, right? But if you choose me, you're going to have fun. You're going to have fun. And it seems silly, but you know what? Most of the people in the world fall in this trap and choose the negative when they know that the negative is negative, but it's fun. The fun is always temporary. Always. I mean, negative fun. Negative fun is just a trap. You have to realize this. You could enjoy the wrong thing only when you're doing it. After you did it, the fun gone and the frustrations took its place. And this is so funny. I mean, people after once or twice that they fall in this trap should wake up. But they never wake up. It's so tempting. So, if we'll analyze this, what actually is the cause of people to sin, to do the wrong thing? It's called fake pleasure. It's pleasure, but it's fake pleasure. Why it's fake? Because right after you've done it, you know it's wrong, it's gone, and you're frustrated because you know that you fell again. So the biggest enemy of the people who want to choose right is the fake pleasure. Let's say a person after 20, 30, 40, 50 years of life woke up one day and say, okay, let me be serious about my life, okay? I cannot keep falling again and again, okay? So he realized that he did something wrong, or for a long time. And he knew exactly, he will analyze it the way we did and say, you know what? It's all fake. You want to fix it. If he want to fix it, he could do it. Change his way from now on. He could. It's hard, but it's possible. The problem is that there is now here a history of accumulation of wrong things that had impact on him. How do you gonna fix this? The answer is suffering. Why? What is the opposite of fun, of pleasure? Suffering. If you understand this, you understand why suffering is cleaning up the account of a person who wants to change his life. And because Hashem wants to make here a whole nation out of Avraham Avinu, that this nation will fix the sin of Adam Rishon, he sent them for this time to the process of suffering because of Yisurim and Markin Avonot in order to purify them. And now, let's finish with the optimistic thing. It was very hard. The torture, slavery in Egypt was horrible. But this is actually what Hashem told Avraham Avinu. After that, they will come out with a great fortune. The great fortune is not the money. The great fortune is to gain back the real level of being human being. To go back to the state of before the sin of Adam Rishon. And not everybody got it, only us. We have to know, Hashem took us out of Egypt. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Hashem speaks to the Jewish nation, and he said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzeticha, I took you out of Egypt. And let me say the following. Anybody who never went out of Egypt stayed in Egypt until now. And anybody who went out of Egypt will never go back to Egypt. The only people in the world that went out of Egypt are us, the Jews. The rest of the world still in Egypt today. And if you understand, Egypt is not just a name of a place that was in the old time. Egypt is here and now. Egypt is the Meitzar, is the fence that capture everybody in it. Let people stay in their physical dimension and never have the option to come out. We are the only one who went out of Egypt, and it's irreversible. As we say in the praying, Geulat Olam. It's irreversible. And this is the chosen people. And Hashem took us or sent us to Egypt only in order for the 4 cup. Remember the 3 cups and the 4? The first 3 was, you will be not in your place, you will be slave and you'll be tortured. When Hashem took us out, first of all, He took out the torture, then He took out the working, then He took us out of Egypt. Then He took us to Har Sinai and gave us the Torah and make us His nation. The halacha says in Leil Seder, okay, last sentence. The halacha in Leil Seder says we have 4 cups that you're obligated to drink, right? What if people want to drink even more? Are they allowed? The answer is yes. They could drink more than 4 cups, but there's only one exception. Ben hakosot alalu, says the Mishnah, between those cups, the obligated one, im ratza lishtot yishteh. If he want to drink, he could. But between the 3rd and the 4th, you're not allowed to drink. Why? Because you could not make a break between taking out of Mitzrayim to getting the Torah. And this is the meaning of Ani Hashem Elokechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. I'm God who took you out of Mitzrayim. Lihiyot lachem le'elokim. Only for that I took you out of Mitzrayim. for you to be my nation, because if not, what's the point? What's the point to send you there and take you out? The only thing is to purify you in order for you to be ready to be my nation. Okay, that's what we could cover now. Thank you, and I hope that will enhance your Pesach.
Beautiful.